Dina, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You're doing okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, better. Thank you.
Okay. It's a nice title, On the Menu of the Lions Club. I wonder where they named that Lions Club from anyway. Maybe. So
there is a Lions Club, right?
Yeah, there is. So your first day on the job, you meet the enemy you don't even know. You meet the enemy and don't even know it. Later, that company gives you a promotion, a raise, and a new office, all things you deserve for your hard work and creative ideas. The only problem is that a few of your coworkers aren't too happy about it. Aren't too happy. Okay. They determine to bring you down any way they can. Tell the group about a time when you were betrayed or accused unjustly for doing wrong. What do you think motivated the person who attacked you? And the personal reflection is, what would you have to clean out before your boss or spouse looked at through your desk, locker, or favorite internet sites, or now the phone? Yeah, basically, do you think what what they wrote is true? Does that happen in companies?
Yes. Yep. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what do you have to do? Fight back? Is what the Bible says.
No. I had a real life incident and a very severe one at that. So
you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I wish Atul was here. So this was when
Where is he?
He's got a bad stomach, so I think he's just.
Okay.
I had just joined and Ravi was just born and I was looking for a new job because I had taken a break for a year. So I just wanted any entry level job. I don't want to go back to advertising because advertising was too intense. But as God willed it, and I asked God and I prayed to God, I said, I just want an entry level job. I don't mind doing anything that's more mechanical, so it doesn't use my brains. But God decided to put me in a position of a senior position with in Dubai that is called Nals Group, as a group marketing manager. Like I have no experience in marketing, but of course with advertising. And as a group marketing manager, I would overlook all the brands in terms of corporate marketing. And the first day on my job, at the meeting, at the weekly meeting, and every brand had its own marketing manager. So at the weekly meeting for Lancy Plaza, which is one of the brands, which is a shopping mall, a very, very vicious lady sat there and without trying to find out as to what my role is, whether I will be overlooking her work or not, she just decided to attack. She said, we will continue to do the way we've been doing things and nobody can ever take this role. And she went on. And the general manager is sitting there and just staring at her. He didn't know what to say, he didn't know how to respond, and tears started to roll down my eyes. Just silently. Because everyone had to go in a row to speak, and it was like my first day. I just kept quiet. And my turn came, said, did you want to share something? I think it was not my first, I think it was my first week or second week. Did you want to say something? I said no. And I just kept quiet. And imagine, I have a newborn at home. I'm literally a newborn. I had to drive for 1 hour and more to work in very, very terrible traffic. I can tell you, Dubai and traffic in US are 4-1. And here I am, really, really concerned with all my hormonal changes, with childbirth and a new job and needing the job more so. And I just kept quiet. And I came down after that and I just burst out and I called Atul. And Atul, at that moment, of course, even we were just married, we just had a baby, and we just were getting to know each other. And I think we were not as spiritually mature as well. And Atul said, "But why didn't you say anything?" I said, "It's not my battle." And I just kept quiet. And later in the afternoon, the GM sent me a note of apology. He said, I am sorry for what happened today to you, and I will take care of it. A few months down the line, she was asked to leave.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, God takes over if you.
Leave it here.
Yeah, the battle belongs to Him, and that's the right word, because yeah, it's not very easy when you're accused and when you're
attack for no reason.
Yeah. And I
You know-
remember Atul coming, and because, it was new to him, to me, I was like, how can someone do this in a boardroom of 20 people or more? And he brought flowers for me and gave me. It was like just to calm me down and to just relax me. And I think that assured me as well, even though his words and his actions were different. The fact that he wanted to calm me down and assure me, while yet saying, be confident in who you are. I kind of just decided to rely on God's grace at that time.
Good, yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, as we study this chapter, you'll see more of it. What about this personal reflection question? Is that something that we need to battle with? It's always good to be. See, remember, if no one else is watching, God is watching. So it's always good to be accountable to God first than anyone else. And if you're accountable to God, then you don't have to be accountable to anyone else. Yeah, you don't have anything to worry about. So that's something we need to all understand. And we all fall into temptations. We all fall into all kinds of situations because that's the world. And the fact is that we are, we don't have the strength sometimes to stand strong. But nevertheless, God has always given us a way to go back to Him and say, Lord, I'm sorry. And He takes over from where you left off. So you don't have to worry about those things. But more than anything else, let's be accountable to God. Because that's the only thing we need to be accountable to. And so, someone rightly said, when people accuse you, you don't have to actually prove anything to anyone. There's only one person to please. And if you please Him, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just continue to please Him. And maybe people may not understand you at that moment, but as they go forward, they'll know that you stand for truth and that, and that you are good according to God's eyes. So, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and you'll see that in Daniel as we study this chapter, how Daniel is, what he does and how he is extinguished. I mean, how he's, and how he's been a man of integrity. So Daniel in the lion's den is a story we never got tired of hearing. I've always been impressed by the story because Daniel was not thrown into the lion's den for being bad, but for being godly. We expect to be punished when we do wrong. When we do right, we expect to be promoted. That is certainly the ideal, but it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes those who do wrong are rewarded, and those who do right are persecuted. Read Daniel 6. Is that true? If you follow God, that's very true. Because as you continue to trust God, in this world you will be persecuted. That's what Jesus said, right? Yeah. He said, you will have troubles in this world, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. So it's a sure case. If you want to be close to God, you're going to be either persecuted or thought wrong. Nothing's going to work in your secular life well.
It says clearly, if you will live a godly life, you will be persecuted.
Yes. Yeah.
It's Peter 3:12
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, not to share. It's in First Peter. Yeah. Yeah. So Christian life is not an easy life. If you think Christian life is easy, we are in the wrong. We are in the wrong business. Okay. So, Daniel 6 starts with the Babylonian kingdom now gone. The Medo-Persian kingdom has come. You remember the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw? The first one was his kingdom, the gold. This is the second part of the statue, which is the Medo-Persian kingdom. Okay, so Okay, list 4 words that describe each of the main characters in this account. How would you describe them to your best friend? So, which are the main characters in this chapter?
Daniel
The instigators
and King Darius and the administrators.
and God.
And God.
Yeah, I think God is the first one. Darius and Daniel. Yeah, it's good to see how a heathen king actually favors Daniel. It's good to see that. This chapter again, I don't know if you know, it's Daniel is the only person in this whole book who works in a government job but still is a prophet of God. You realize that? And that's what most of the other are full-time ministers. They're all prophets doing only that. But here's a man who's working.
65 years.
Yeah, more than that. Started when he was 17.
He's
Yeah.
83 years, so he
83.
works
80,
65.
yeah, and when he was here, he was 87. Darius is.
Oh, is it mine? Oh my lord. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I thought I put silent. Just take it.
Yeah. Go ahead. So, just to give you a little background, this thing was prophesied by Jeremiah and Isaiah long back, and I'll just give you the references. If you go to Isaiah 44, verse 28 onwards, it will start. You can say, let me just read that to you. Isaiah 44. So Isaiah prophesied this 175 years before this started. Okay, so this shows that every prophecy comes true. 44, 28.
28, is it?
Yeah. It says, who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and he shall perform all my pleasure, saying to Jerusalem, you shall be built, and to the temple your foundation shall be laid. Now Cyrus is the Persian king who came and captured Babylon, and he puts his uncle Darius, who's a Mede, as the in charge of that province. But Cyrus is the main Persian. He's a Persian king, and Isaiah prophesied about him 175 years ago, and with the name. Okay, and let's go on to 45, and it says, thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus whose right hand I have held. Look, Cyrus is a heathen king. He's not a Jew, but God has anointed him to do his work. Okay, to subdue nations before him, to loose the armor of kings. That's exactly what happened in chapter 5. Belshazzar, when he was there, Cyrus actually loosed his armor with that, coming and capturing him, that whole thing.
This is in chapter 45.
45 1.
45 1.
Chapter Isaiah 45. Yeah.
Verse
What I'm reading is verse 1, and I'll just go on to verse 2 too. To open him before him double doors, and gates will not, so that the gates will not be shut. I will go before you and make crooked places straight. I will break the pieces of gates of bronze and cut into iron bars. That's exactly what happened. How Cyrus actually captured Babylon. And I will give you the treasures of darkness, hidden riches and secret places, that you may know that I, the Lord, who call you by name, am the God of Israel. So God uses this King Cyrus to start this journey. Now, we should know that all this area is the Middle East. Do you know the Babylon is today where? Iraq. Okay, and Persia is where? Iran. So this thing has been going on for long. Okay, so and the Euphrates runs between them, and that has always been the area of conflict. And do you know that Garden of Eden also had the river of Euphrates running through them? So Garden of Eden is also in this area. We don't know where exactly, but that's where it
I
was.
believe it is Bahrain and
Not too
not
sure, but
Bahrain.
Not
doesn't go there.
There are no.
no, but Genesis says in the Garden of Eden, Euphrates River was there.
Hmm.
So it has to be somewhere on that banks, the Garden of Eden. So that's where this whole thing is. Even in Revelation, that's where the Battle of Armageddon is. When we go into Revelation, you'll know. That whole area is where this whole finally it'll all take place. When Jesus comes back, he's going to come back into Jerusalem. His feet will touch Mount of Olives. Yeah. So everything is around that area, and that's what's happening today. If you know, this has been going on 6 months today since that war is going on. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to end, but his coming is soon, so we need to be prepared. But it's all falling into place, and so here's where Abraham was. Abraham also came from this area. When he was called, he was in the Chaldees. He came from the Ur of Chaldees. Now Chaldeans is another name for Babylonians actually in the Bible. So that's where Abraham came from. He used to worship idols, and then he was called from there, and he came to the promised land. And see how God does things. When these people started going away from God and going back to idols, he said, "Now go back to this place." And that's where you wanted to worship idols. I'll bring you back into captivity. And then Daniel is raised up, and then this whole journey coming back to Jerusalem started with Daniel. Yeah. And so God anoints this King Cyrus to give them, to make this Jewish people to come back to Jerusalem. And so that's how important. So if you look at Isaiah, all the prophecies that Isaiah said is about this land. Okay. So that's what we need to, but here's something that we need to know. How do you think Cyrus and Darius, all these people, how do you think Cyrus actually came to know of this Lord?
Through Daniel.
So there must have been only Daniel, though it's not mentioned there, but it must be Daniel, and what he stood for, the people, all these kings actually made a difference in their lives. And that's how, yes, God was in control, but there was one man on the earth who was actually standing. So who through him all these kings. You remember, he's now served Nebuchadnezzar. Is now serving Darius kings as a king. So let's read more about Daniel as we go into the chapter. So God uses Cyrus to start this journey back, and that's how that's what I was trying to. Now that's where now they will start to come back into Jerusalem. Now, just like, I don't know, 1948, what happened? Israel was formed.
Yes.
Yeah. So God used the UN to form that. There was only one vote that was required, and that happened that time. It can happen in a day. So God can do things like that. So and this happened in our generation. So that's how God does things. So he uses heathen people to accomplish his purposes, and that's what we need to know. So God is in control. He's in control of everything. Okay, let's go on to question 2. What can we conclude about Daniel's character from the results of the special investigation by his enemies? 4 and 5. So see, look at verse 3. It says, "Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because of an excellent spirit that was in him, and the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm." So that's the kind of spirit that Daniel had. He had an excellent spirit, and and then if you read 4 and 5, you will see that. So the governors and the satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge, no fault, because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. So that is the kind of person Daniel was. Now remember, it's very important for us to learn from this, because we all work in secular places, and this is how it should be. He was faithful, and there was no error or fault found in him. So if people were to scrutinize our work, let's also have this kind of thing, that excellent spirit. That's how we know we can claim to be a Christian by our words, but let's live like Christians. We can talk all we want, but if our life doesn't show it, it's not going to trickle down to anything. And so you'll find that in Daniel. I don't think he spoke much. It was his life that showed, and that excellent spirit that he did his work with complete integrity, because he knew that he was not accountable to them; he was accountable to God. So if you are accountable to God, then no one can find any fault with you. And so that's what we find in Daniel. So the thing about Daniel is that he, when we read in Daniel 1, he was 17 years old, a young man. And, when this happens, Darius took over, he must have been around 87. So 50 years he has been, nothing has changed. He's always been faithful and kept God in first place. And that is a lesson for all of us. We may not have started well, but we can finish well. That's what I always say. So let's get back into keeping God first in every area of our life, like Daniel. And I'm sure God will continue to be with us. So we can conclude from this that the character of Daniel was flawless. Even in a secular work, it was flawless. Yeah, and that's something we can learn from him. And so I don't know if it was during this time that the Persians had the Persian religion, Zoroastrianism. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Parsi religion is. Yeah, Zoroaster is their. It's the person who started it. It was this time that that religion actually came up. And so you would find that if Cyrus had to be influenced by Daniel, there must have been something about Daniel, because he could have been easily, Zoroaster could have been easily the person he should be influenced by.
Those
Yeah.
names are all Parsi names.
Which one?
Darius, Cyrus.
Yeah.
They're all very typical Parsi names.
Yeah.
And
So
also, if you even notice in today's day and age, a lot of the Parsis are they have a lot of affinity to the Christian religion. And of course, they don't.
Do you know Zoroaster actually means son of the lady? It actually means like it's
to the sun god.
fire god. Yeah, Zoroaster actually means that's how he started there, being the son of the lady, like like Jesus is. So there's always some tangent that they all go, and that's how the other religions are started. So yeah, we need to come back to God. Yeah. So that's the influence Daniel had. So we can learn from that. Now, question 3. If you're being watched as Daniel was, what changes, if any, would you want to make to your present lifestyle? It's a good question to ask ourselves. Looking at Daniel's life, it says there was an excellent spirit in him. King Darius. Huh?
I want that excellent spirit.
You can ask God for it. I'm sure He'll give it to you. But there is a part that we have to do.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes, He will give it. But if we are not faithful in our work, we have to be hardworking and not can't be lazy. He can give you the excellent spirit when you do your part. What you can do, we do the natural, he does the supernatural. And that's something we should learn. And yeah, we want everything sitting down. That doesn't come, but there is hard work. Yes. Yeah, so that's a good question to ask. If there's anything that you need to change, that God's speaking to you, looking at Daniel's life, it's good to change it, and go the way that God wants you to go. Yeah. Okay. Question 4. King Darius willingly signed the document prohibiting prayer, verses 6 to 9. How does this action resemble the sins of his predecessors? So, what did his predecessors do?
When King Nebuchadnezzar did something
Same
similar.
pride, abuse of power.
Yeah.
They want to be connected. They want to have the divinity ascribed to them.
Yeah, they, like he said, pride gets into them with absolute, they say power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, yeah.
It goes back to the earlier statement you made about if you're a follower of Christ, you will be persecuted, right?
Yeah.
And throughout all of the Belshazzar and Nebuchadnezzar and Darius, what we see now is all of them are putting to trial God's chosen ones.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
And also, I think the kings were given to flattery. To lift them up.
Yeah, you lift them up. That's what. Aren't we given to flattery?
Oh, yeah.
Forget about kings. If someone lifts you up, then you just puff yourself up and you think that you are the world. Very, very wrong. God is using you. That's all. God gives you all the ability. If someone tells you, give God the glory, not let it not come into yourself. That's what happened to Satan. That's what happened to Lucifer, right? He was a worship leader, and he took some of that worship to himself. Though when he had to lead in worship, that some of that worship he took for himself, and that's what happens to all of us. When God uses us, but and people tell us something, give glory to God, because if it was not for God's ability, we wouldn't have been anything. And so it's always good to be humble, and yeah, that's the only way that you can live this Christian life. Yeah. But here's something we need to know, that God is sovereign. Whoever the kings and whoever is in charge of the governments, God is sovereign, and he uses these people to accomplish his purposes. That's something we know. So we just have to continue doing the work that God has called us to do and be faithful. Daniel, I don't know if Daniel went around trying to convert him. No, he just lived his life. He did what he had to do, and his life itself showed, and people were attracted to it. And that's what it should be for all of us. Yeah. And that is where we are called to be a witness. Sometimes we fail very badly because we speak a lot of Christian jargon, but our life doesn't show it. And let's be very careful of that, because people are watching you. If you speak Christian jargon, people are watching your life. Definitely are watching your life. And so let's live a life that is worthy of his calling, because we are being a bad witness to the people and to God, because God is hoping that you will be the witness so that other person will come to know him through your life. And if you don't be that person, then God can't bring that person to know him. So yeah, just like he uses Daniel, he can use us. Okay, question 5. Daniel has 3 choices in response to the king's decree. Stop praying for 30 days, pray secretly, pray as usual. Explain the consequences of each, and why do you think Daniel made the choice he did? So what is the consequence of stop rain for 30 days?
No problem.
Huh?
No problem. You won't be thrown in the lions then.
Yeah. What about praying secretly? That's something that we'll all do. Right?
It's not secretly private.
No, privately is separate. This is secret.
It's the easiest thing.
Easiest thing.
It's the easiest thing at all.
See, if he was doing something regularly, I think you should continue doing it. Just because a law has come into position, you don't stop. We forget who's in control. Just because King Darius puts a law in place, you serve a God who's much above the King Darius and his laws. Yes, you will be persecuted, definitely, because you don't follow the law. There will be persecution. But he followed it with regard to his work. But with regard to God, yes, he didn't follow it. Yeah, and so that's something that we find from, and we find with Daniel. So I just wanted to. So here's something, verse 6 says, so these governors, satraps, thronged before the king and said thus to him, King Darius, live forever. And that's what Maju was saying. King Darius, live forever. You think he can live forever? No, that's flattery, but that's gotten to him. And all the governors in the kingdom, the administrators, satraps, the counselors, advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute to make a firm decree, whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, is that a lie or not? Was everyone consulted?
No, Daniel was.
I'm sure Daniel was not consulted. Yeah, so it starts off with a lie, and that's how it always is. You'll find that there will be some truth, but there will be definitely it's not the full truth. Yeah, and so that's it. And then it goes on to say, now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. And I was wanting to read verse 10. And now Daniel knew that the writing was signed. He went home into his upper room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since. What is it written? Since early days. So he's been faithful in this area of prayer. And that's something that we find in Daniel's life. Even though he worked in very, very high positions, he realized that only prayer can change things. Only God can change. And praying was one of the things that he relied on. Yes, he had an excellent spirit. There was a work that he did. But it was God and his communication with God that was always open. And, even at 87, he knelt on his knees and prayed. And so that's what we find. There was whatever law was put into place, Daniel had no issue. He was at rest because he knew he was in control. Just like, I'm not too sure. I'm sure he would have thought, even if he was put in the lion's den, that what if my life goes, it's okay. I know my God lives. Yeah, so that's the commitment he had to God, and that's the confidence he has in the Lord, because he was doing this on a daily basis from early days. 3 times a day he was praying. And how important it is for us to learn that part of Daniel's life, that yes, we are excellent in, we do all the work that we are called to do, but there's a time that you need to spend with God, because that's where God gives you the ability to be that excellent person. You can't do it on your strength, on your own strength. That excellent person that you can be is only with the strength that God gives you. And so he knew where his strength comes from, and where all his ability comes from is because God has allowed him, and that God was with him. And yeah, that's a clear lesson that we need to learn, that we need to be praying always. Prayer, they say, is the backbone of a Christian. If prayer is not there, you can have all the word, you can read off all of the word, and you can go to church every time. But if you don't connect with God on a daily basis through prayer, you won't be as strong as you think you are. What is that word? You are as strong as you are on your knees. If you are on your knees, you'll be in good standing. Right?
Kneeling can keep you in good standing.
Yeah, kneeling can keep you in good standing.
These are your words from many years ago.
Yeah. So it's very important to know how important prayer is in a Christian's life, and we somehow disregard that so much. We are so interested in all the worship that goes, and yes, it's all good, and the word, but a personal time of prayer with the Lord is the most important thing that a Christian should have. And I don't think it's by mistake that Jesus said, "My house shall be called a..." Yes, it's called the church, but it's also called the house of prayer. And so, I just wanted to tell you that if you find Daniel strong here, it's because he spent a lot of time on his knees. And that is the only way you and me can be strong. As long as you can spend some time on your knees before the Lord, you will be strong. And so that's I just wanted to come to that. Yeah, he was at rest. Yeah. Again, what choice would you have made? It says, second part.
You already answered the question.
What?
Number 2.
Easiest one.
So I have heard to this regarding question 5. Actually, Paul says that you should listen to the governments and to kings, right? So that's some of the arguments that they use. So the king said to pray to him. So I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but yeah.
Paul says where?
But you should be
obedient to your
submitting to governments, right? Yeah.
In authority, but not with regard to religion and to way. Yeah. But if he had no problem with the law of the land, it is when he was asked to pray to someone else.
It was a law. To be technically, it was the king had signed it, sealed it. Yeah.
But I don't know if Paul says that if you ask to pray to some other king, some other.
No, it is not in the context of faith.
Yeah, I think it's only in the context of being in authority, submit to authority. Yeah, you don't go against authority, and that's very true. You are in the law of the land. It's like this. It's like this joke I heard of this preacher saying, I prayed, he wanted to go somewhere, reach somewhere fast. So he prayed and asked the Lord, be with me that I don't have an accident while I'm driving. So he went fast and he had an accident. So he asked the Lord, what happened? He said, I was there with you, but you are going faster than I was going. What can I do? So that's it. So you have to abide by the law of the land. And if you don't abide by the law of the land, you'll get into a problem. But it doesn't mean that you don't worship the Lord your God. That should be primary. Today we can be put into that position. Isn't that happening in India?
Exactly. That's
Very
what
much.
I was
Even
saying.
even
Yeah. So if that is happening, where would you stand? Would you be secret or would you stand? It's a question you can all ask ourselves, and this is going to come.
Yes.
It is that's the way the world is going, and
Definitely come.
yeah, and so we can be also put into the lion's den in that sense if we stand for the truth. Here's something God said: if you honor me, I will honor you. See, we should have eternity in perspective. This life on this world is just it's temporary, and that's what we are learning. As if you go after Daniel 9, you'll learn about what is prophecy and thing. That is the truth, and so
See, Daniel continued to pray because he had no fear.
Yeah.
He had no fear about the consequence.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we all.
But he also knew that God had told him that he will bring him back after 70 years. So Jeremiah had prophesied. So he knows the scriptures in and out, and so that's what he was praying for, that they will come back.
It's like Abraham's faith. Yeah.
So that's why we need to know the scriptures. And even as Doug said, now everything you hear, please go back to the scriptures and test it. So we need to be men of the word too, because this is the only. Do you know what the full form of the Bible is? Huh? Go ahead. Good one. Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
talking about that, even Paul actually has given examples where he goes against laws.
Yeah, I mean,
He has
you
actually.
cannot go against the law about praying and going. Yeah, you need to submit to authority. Daniel is very clear on that. I mean, you submitted to their authority, and that's why he found that is the excellent spirit in it. But he didn't go against. I mean,
See,
if
all
you
the compromises that we make in life is also connected to that. That's when you stand up against this possibility of compromises, we are standing firm.
Yeah.
Not worrying about the consequences, not being seen as the outcast or the party pooper or whatever. There's so many things every day happens in our lives. That's where we have to start. We may not be thrown into the den, in the lion's den, but there's so many things that's part of this culture that's asking us to join, marry them, marry the culture, be part of it, because that's what broad-minded people do.
Yes, that's true.
That's what people who care about others do. That's not what people who care about others do. It's like the Bible, it says, when you are with the foreigners, you take care of them, be nice to them, but don't do what they do. Clearly, don't worship their gods. We are worshiping the other gods a lot of times when we be part of the culture. In our church, it happens. In our church, it happens. So that's where we have to start. It's not about the den or or the fire or furnace. It's right there every day. When you become part of other culture, what are you doing? You're compromising your faith.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. True. And it's going to come more.
Yes.
It's
You have
permeating.
You have to be bold enough to say no.
Yeah.
A big no. I'm not.
We
going
can
to
stand
do
for it, but you can't change the church.
No, but you do it.
Yeah. We can stand
We
for
can
it.
do it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I think we are out of time, but we'll continue this. Yeah, is that okay?
Mhm.
There's a lot. So question 6. Yeah, it's always good to, like when Simama said, to go to the lion's den with God, then not go, then without, then be without God. So this persecution is going to be real. We thought we came from. It's there all over the world, and as Christians, you're going to be persecuted. And there are choices you can make, like when Simama said, you can always compromise here and there, thinking nothing, no one's going to see anything, but God's watching. So, are you accountable to the people or are you accountable to God? It's a question we need to ask ourselves. And it's very easy to fall into that trap. And we have fallen a lot of times. But if God has shown you that, it's good to come back and ask God for forgiveness and see where you can, you can set things right. God is a God who wants to set, bring you back into where He's called you to be. So, yeah, we need to be like Daniel. Yeah. So it's a good thing that he opens his windows towards Jerusalem. Do you know why he opens windows towards Jerusalem? Where do you guys face towards when you pray? Is that Jerusalem?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
No, east is not Jerusalem.
We should be towards the west, right? So we should be.
So what is the reason for the east?
So Christ ascended from the east to the
Oh,
and
that
said
is-
that he'd come back the same way. So the
Comes east.
churches are constructed facing
He's
east.
saying the east, right?
So sorry, where does it say what?
He ascended into heaven during the ascension. The statement is that he will come back the same way. So
But where is the east there?
I think that is.
No, it said he will come from the east, not about ascension. I think it
It
said
is
he will
also
come from the
connected
east.
with the ascension.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't too sure. I know you guys face. I thought it was the west.
No,
It's the east, is it?
Which side the Muslims also east only, no?
no,
They-
the Muslims face Mecca.
Mecca, that is a
East
towards
only, no?
that is west.
No, for us it is east, but it's not necessarily east for everyone in the world.
Wherever you are, you
They face
will
towards
face
Mecca, not
Mecca
towards the east.
whichever direction.
It depends on which
Where
part
you
of the
are.
globe you are.
But Mecca is east of the globe, right?
Yeah, so if somebody is in Australia, they will face west.